Hello everyone, welcome back to Autognizant channel. Today we are going to discuss about dynamic XPath. Many interviewers ask this question, what is absolute XPath and what is dynamic XPath and what is the difference between them. They might even ask you to write dynamic XPath in an interview to see if you have genuine experience in developing automation test scripts or not. Before we start understanding dynamic XPath, we will first understand what is XPath, absolute XPath and relative XPath. Then we will practice writing XPaths and we will understand the most widely used XPath functions. And then we will be understanding dynamic XPath and how to use it in developing automation test script. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. First of all, XPath. XPath simply means XML path. We use XPath to find the location of any element on a web page. Let's open a web page and see how it practically works. I am on a web page called web tables. So in order to locate the XPath, we need to use Chrome DevTools. So I'm going to click on three dots over here and let's open DevTools from this menu. So if you look at the Chrome DevTools, we have multiple sections. So I'm not going to explain the purpose of all sections over here, but let's see the element section. So this is called HTML DOM. DOM means document object model. Document object model simply means that this is simply HTML code, right? And it is displayed in the tree-like structure. Okay, and that's why we call it document object model, right? So for any web element, we can locate it in different ways, right? For example, I want to locate this add button. So Chrome provides this icon to select any web element. If we go here and simply click on add button, so it will highlight that particular element in a DOM structure. So I'm just gonna right click on this element and we have a couple of options over here and we can go to copy, and here we can copy the element, we can copy elements outer HTML, we can copy CSS selector, we can copy JS path, we can copy only styles. So we have different options here, right? And we have copy XPath and copy full XPath. So let's copy full XPath and see what do we get. Let me open a notepad. So this is the full XPath. We call it absolute XPath because it starts from root element, that is HTML. The disadvantage of absolute XPath is that if developer add one or more divs or remove one or more div elements from the HTML DOM, this XPath will fail, right? So that's why we try to avoid absolute XPath. Instead of absolute XPath, we use relative XPath. And let me show you how to get relative XPath to locate an web element. This time we have to click on copy XPath. It will get us a relative XPath for add button. So here we can see there are some expressions used like /, star, add. So let us understand these expressions first. So the first expression is forward slash. So it simply means a root node, right? Whenever we write absolute XPath, we start with single forward slash, right? So whenever we start writing XPath with forward slash, it will always start from the root element, that is HTML. If we start with double slash, that means it selects a node in the document from the current node that matches the selection, no matter where they are. So double slash means it will search the element with specified details anywhere in the document, right? That's why we call it relative XPath. Then we have a dot, right? Dot means select the current node. I will talk about dot expression in different video. For now, let's skip this one. Then we have two dots. Two dots will select the parent node of the current node. At last, we have at. It will select the element based on attribute values. So in our example, we have mentioned at ID. So we are locating the element using attribute ID, and its actual value is add new record button. So how do we verify that whatever the XPaths we have got are they correct or not? So let me show you how we can use the search feature of Chrome Dev tool to validate the XPath expressions. So here we have a search bar. Here we can search. So I'm entering the absolute XPath, and you can see it is highlighting in the yellow color. So this absolute XPath is the correct one. As I mentioned, if there are some changes in the DOM, then this XPath might not work. For example, instead of 2, if I put 3, this will not work. So this is the biggest disadvantage of absolute XPath. That's why people prefer using relative XPath. So let me try with relative XPath now. So you can see it will search the element based on the attribute value called add new record button, right? So here you can see 2 forward slash means it will search anywhere in the document. And then we have put star. Instead of using a particular HTML tag, we have used star. So it will look for all the HTML tags. It could be div, it could be paragraph, it could be h1, right? It could be input tag. So if we mention the specific tag name instead of star, it will only look for those tags. So for example, we have a tag button tag, right? So instead of star, I can use button tag. So this time it will look for only button tags while searching. And then we have mentioned @ ID. So we have to provide attribute value for ID attribute. And this is called relative XPath. Now let's understand some basic and very important XPath functions. Let us understand contains method first. So for add button, I'm going to use this text add for locating the button using contains. So we can start with forward double slash, then contains, then brackets. Inside brackets, we have to provide dot. If we provide dot, it will match with any attribute value or the text value. So if I put add over here, let me close the expression. Yeah. So it is identifying the add button using text called add. What does this dot represent? Dot represent means it could be any attribute value or it could be any text. So I know This is a text, so we can use XPath in different way. Instead of dot, I know that this is a text, so let me use text function over here. See, even if we use text, it will identify the element correctly. So instead of dot, we can use specific functions or a specific attribute. Let me show you example using specific attribute value. So in contains function, we can even use attribute ID attribute value. How to use ID attribute using contains? So instead of text, we can use ID attribute. ID, and we have to specify the correct ID attribute value. Yeah, so at ID. So again, it will identify the correct element using ID attribute value. We can use any attribute value such as class or type using contains. We have add and or operators as well. So if I want to use multiple attributes in order to identify element, I can combine them using and or operator. For example, instead of contains, I want to use ID equal to, not this one. So I'm using ID attribute only to locate the element. Let us say, for example, I want to use class attribute as well. So what I can do, I can put and at class equals to, I can put the class attribute value as well. So this is how we can combine two attribute values to locate the element. Similarly, we can use the or attribute as well. So if one of the attribute is present, it will locate the element. Then we have a function called text. Let me copy this example in a notepad. Using text function also, we can identify the element. I have shown earlier, we can use a text between the tag to locate it. So here in this case, we have to use a function called text equals to, in single quote, add. When we use text function, we have to mention the exact text between the tag. If we put some extra space, or then it will not work. If we have to put correct text in order to locate the element using text function. Similar to contains, we have starts with function. So let us see how we can use start with function. So I will use the same add button as an example. So this time I will use starts with function. Starts with is self-explanatory. So we can use either attribute value or text in order to locate the element. But the condition is that we can give the partial text, which is the beginning of the text. For example, here I'm going to use ID, and I can, instead of using the complete ID, I can use the partial ID in order to locate. So here, instead of add new record button, I'm just using the partial text add new to locate the element. This is how we can use the start with function to locate the element by providing the partial text or partial attribute value. Next, we have index. Index is not a function. we can if we have multiple elements and if we want to locate the particular element, we can provide the index. So for example, this time I want to identify the delete button which is present at the second row. So if I locate the delete icon, so here we have delete record 2. So id attribute is unique. So if we use id attribute, we will get the specific delete attribute. But for example, if I want to use title, then let us see how many delete buttons we get. So the tag name is span. So I'm going to use span in brackets at title is equal to delete. So we have got 3 delete buttons. First one, then second, and then third. So here we can see 3 of 3, right? So it is pointing to all 3 elements, right? But we want to get the second one. To get exactly the second delete button, we can use the index. So how we can use the index? We have to put brackets for the entire XPath. Then we can use square brackets, and we can specify the index number. So if I put first, it will locate only first delete button, right? You can see it is showing 1 of 1. If I want to locate the second one, I can use the index as second. So it will locate only second delete icon. So this is how we can use indexing to locate particular web element. Then we have some more functions called parent. So we can use parent to locate, to navigate to the parent element. For example, I am currently at delete button, right, over here. Now for this pan tag, the parent is div, right? This one is identifying the edit button, but for these two, if we see, the parent is div. So how do I navigate to parent? There are 2 ways to navigate to parent. The first one is using parent keyword. So using parent keyword, we have to specify the parent tag name, that is div. So now we are at parent tag. So it is mandatory to provide the tag name if we use the parent keyword. If I go to the parent of div, the parent of div is another div over here. So I will have to again use parent div. Now I'm at this div, right? When you use the parent keyword, it is mandatory to provide the parent tag name. But if I cannot move more than 1 level, this is one way to go to parent tag. There is another way we can go to parent tag using dot operator. So how to use dot operator to traverse to the parent element? Instead of parent tag, we can simply put dot. This will navigate me to the parent tag. Dot slash. So here we don't have to specify the tag name, right? If we use simply 2 dots, it will navigate us to the parent tag. Now let us see some complex XPath. For example, I want to find out, I want to click on the edit button for the user called Sierra. So what I can do, I can use the first name as input, right? And you can see this is a div tag, so I can use div in brackets. I have the exact input, so I can use text tag to locate the first element, that is the first element. So I'm here, right? Now I want to click on the edit icon against Sierra. So what I can do here, if you look at the HTML structure, you will see we are at Sierra. Now I want to navigate till edit record button, this one. So if you look at this, how many divs are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So for edit icon, this is the 6th div. So we can use following sibling to reach out to the required edit icon, right? So following sibling, why we are using sibling? Because these divs are at same level. So we are going to use following sibling keyword, again div. So it is saying 6. Now we have to go to specific div, that is 6. So I am providing again index. So I am at respective div. Inside this div, I have to locate the edit icon. So I am going to use title edit. So inside div, I'm going to use span inside bracket title equals to edit. Now there are two spans, one for edit and other for delete. So we have to use double slash to find out the correct span with title. So this is how we can use following sibling if the elements are at same level. If I want to navigate to the previous element, we have a function called preceding sibling. So let us understand preceding sibling as well. For preceding sibling, we will use the same example. Let us say we are at insurance department. Okay, so I have insurance as the department value. So now instead of first name, I am at this level, insurance. And now I have to find out the person who belongs to insurance department. So now I have to traverse back to the first name. To do that, we have a keyword called preceding sibling. Again, why we are using preceding sibling is because all these divs are at same level. If you want to reach upper level, we have to use parent tag. But using parent keyword, we can only reach one higher level than the current level. Again, here we can have multiple divs. So we have to again use the index in order to locate. If we use the first 5 index, we are at the first name highlighted in yellow color. So this is how we can use following sibling and parent sibling keywords in order to traverse between the elements that are at same level. What if I want to traverse to more than one up level? In order to do that, let us take an example of this checkbox. So this checkbox is at this level, span. Now I want to reach to UL, or better at this div level directly. So is there any way to do it? Yes, we can do it using ancestor. So first locate this checkbox using text. So I'm going to use text attribute in order to locate this checkbox text, and this is a span, so let me change the tag name span. So now we are at this level. Now I want to directly navigate to the this tag called div, right? So we can do it using ancestor. Ancestor keyword div. Now there are many divs, right? So we want to again use index in order to go to the respective div. So it is highlighted in the yellow color. Again, if you don't want to use indexing, you can use the attribute values. So instead of indexing, let me show you with attribute value. So ancestor using index, and then again ancestor using attribute value. All I need to do, instead of index, I can use the attribute value, and here attribute value is class. So let's try using class. So let's use this class name. So it is highlighting to the correct div element. This is how we can skip multiple elements and directly traverse back to the required element using ancestor keyword. So these are all the most widely used keywords and functions in XPath. In the next video, I will be talking about dynamic XPath and how to handle dynamic XPath in automation framework. That's all for today's lesson. Thank you so much. See you soon.